What is the difference between a stage magician and a mystery writer? Now, both are actually lying or using misdirection for your pleasure or entertainment. The difference is that the magician doesn't actually want you to know how exactly he lied to you, whereas the mystery writer will often point out, or at least try to make sure you actually know exactly how he lied to you. But there's that word, misdirection. And that word is particularly why I decided to make another installment of Advice That Stits. And not just because I've waited for a pair of magician characters in a while, well, at least to come out and Dame for a while, and I actually had magicians on the mind and misdirection and so forth, so I've been thinking about it a lot. But again, this is an important topic, because the thing with misdirection is that it's trying to get you to look at one thing, while something else is going on in the background or to the side. For a magician, that may be distracting the audience while the assistant is preparing the next magic trick. So maybe they're pulling a rabbit out of the hat or doing a few card tricks while while the assistant is setting up the next stage of the act. Now the thing is that sometimes the assistant may actually be the distraction so the magician can do something. And sometimes it's simply a matter of which hand are people looking at and what are they focusing on. With a writer, their form of misdirection is often in literary terms or so forth, like a red herring, where it's like given as a piece of truthful evidence, and everything is adding up one way. But once that evidence is kind of debunked or countered or accounted for, then the rest of the evidence starts to take on a different kind of, I guess they add up to a different conclusion. For example, let's talk about maybe the butler left their tray at the scene of the crime. So everything seems to be leading to it's the butler. But the real thing that happened is that the butler is actually having an affair with the maid. So that's why his tray was left at the scene of the crime. And really, all the evidence now points to the coachman. And now for a writer, they will probably actually want you to know exactly how it happened. So maybe they've added some flirtatious dialogue or looks between the maid and the butler throughout the story. So that they're so that's like, looking back, it's like, oh, yeah, I could have seen that happening. Whereas the coachman may be looking more suspicious or suspect bit by bit. And now the thing is that, again, the magician doesn't actually want to reveal their secrets. So they probably wouldn't tell you unless they were training you to take over or to be like them. But again, both of these examples are kind of for enjoyment or entertainment. They're meant for fun and play. But there are also those who will lie to us in order to take advantage or mislead us. And this is where this episode's piece of advice comes in. And it goes like this. If everyone is telling you to look at one thing or to think about one idea, look for what else is going on. And for example, let's suppose for example that someone is already attempting to rob a bank. So they're already intending to do harm to people by stealing their money. So what's to say they want to also attempt to harm people by setting fire to a building and trust in the bank? So that everybody is concerned and panicking about the fire. Maybe they're trying to put it out, maybe they're trying to rescue people, or maybe they're just running around like chickens with their heads chopped off, but they're panicking. And so they're actually free to then take the money out the back of the bank down the alleyway and make their escape. Because nobody's focused on what the bank happening at the bank. Everyone's focused on the fire. And again, that's kind of the thing to be aware of, is that while it may seem cynical at first, because nobody wants to expect people to do that, is that once someone intends to do harm, or at least accepts one aspect of it, it can be a lot easier to make a few other things permissible. So to be aware of that is that while many people will actually choose to do good, maybe generally for being acceptable in society, some people do choose bad, and we have that choice to choose good or bad. And that's something to be aware of, is that some people will choose bad. And again, that may sound cynical, but another way to look at it is that, hey, it's cliche, but let's say people are running towards the cliff. Now, the one person who isn't running towards the cliff is going to look kind of strange to all the people running towards the cliff. It's like, why aren't you going with us? Why do you think we're wrong? Why aren't you doing this with us? But really, it's kind of like the person who isn't running towards the cliff is the only one who actually knows what's going on. It's kind of like, and that can be very easy to actually do. It's kind of like actually taking a break from eating grass to lifting up among the sheep to see if there are any wolf tails sticking up. It's sort of like taking a minute to just step back from the crowd. And I was recently reminded of this quote from Men in Black. A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. And that's kind of the thing, is that there's this herd or mob mentality that comes in when we're basically associated with a group. And again, sometimes we may not actually have the chance to get out of the group because we're stuck right in the middle of it, and we may not actually have any way to actually kind of like the landmark to be like, wait a minute, something's going on here and I don't like it. So we latch onto that landmark. But again, there's kind of this ability, we can kind of train ourselves to have this ability to kind of take a step back and think about what's going on. And this can be especially valuable today because a news story can actually be carried around the world in seconds. And every news site or whatever is going to talk about it and so forth and react to it, give their own opinions on it. And this can go on for weeks on end, even. Now, the thing is, that original news story could actually be a lie. But yet, a lie that's been repeated enough times, everybody may be believing it when the truth comes out. And again, there may be other news stories that are ignored or basically flashes in the pan compared to this news story that everybody's talking about, that may actually be more important or more significant to what's really happening than the one everybody's talking about. So the thing is to actually be able to step back, to basically check in with ourselves on what are we really thinking here, to take stock of what's going on, so that we're able to make decisions for ourselves rather than simply following the crowd or making decisions with the herd. At least this is kind of my perspective and thoughts on it, so sorry if it is a bit rambly or stumbling, but I hope you at least got value out of it. And if you did, or you have thoughts and comments of your own, feel free to share them in the comments below. And also, if you did enjoy this video, you can like and share it to help others see it as well. And if you really enjoyed it and want to see more, you can subscribe to the channel as well. Anyway, I'm Jonah, and you've been watching Lion's Mane Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons we learn from them. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.